On the 6th of June 1944, world history changed. D-Day is commemorated around the globe. During this time, we will be releasing 3 messages as we launch the Stavropol May Day campaign. In this third part of our D-Day commemoration message, we will consider the impact that the First World War had upon the Russian scene, especially as the former Soviet Union's birth took place during the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917. There's also a comparison to be made between this and the 1990s in South Africa. We are an indigenous people of South Africa, the Boer Afrikaner. We're not going anywhere. This is why many people are calling for action such as also cessation, such as a form of constitutionally allowed autonomy. Section 235, self-determination. The right of the South African people as a whole to self-determination as manifested in this constitution does not preclude within the framework of this right recognition of the notion of the right of self-determination of any community sharing a common cultural and language heritage within a territorial entity in the Republic or in any other way determined by national legislation. All cultures cannot be equal. The root of culture is the French or the Latin term culte or cultus, which is directly tied to the root of worship. What is of worth? The values of a culture. There has to be difference in values between different perspectives and paradigms. Otherwise, it's an absolute logical fallacy and a non-conceptual approach to reality. If we look at the timeline of the media wave that has been forming and rising in solidarity with the situation in South Africa, in solidarity against the concept of expropriation without compensation. We want to remind you that 100 years ago, Russia, during the First World War, do not forget the context of the Bolshevik Revolution. The world was in upheaval. The world was at war. It was the worst war that humanity had witnessed up to that moment in history. 1917, the Bolshevik Revolution breaks out, but it wasn't just born in a vacuum. Lenin, the leaders like Trotsky, the other communist leaders had been working on the ideological paradigm shift for nearly 20 years by that time. So there was a preparation towards the takeover of Russia by an ideology that was foreign to the Slavic mindset. Do not forget the origins of those who pushed the purpose of takeover and of ideological paradigm shift. They were not the traditional Christian Russian ethnic inhabitants. Many of these ideologies, and especially Marxism, was developed outside of the Russian reality, and then it was imposed upon the Russian reality during a very fragile time in world history. This is why regime change could take place during those very interesting years, the decade after 1910 to 1920. Much happened in world history during that crucial time in the 20th century. How have we come here today? That a country can democratically discuss the active appropriation without compensating the owners of their property. It wasn't the 500,000 plus murders since the end of apartheid in South Africa that seems to have caught the attention of the world, but rather expropriation without compensation. It seems everything has a financial bottom line. The Washington Post published this article, Why Russia is Wooing South Africa's White Farmers, following my father and my visit to Russia as a second Boer delegation. We visited Moscow, the Kaluga region, as well as Stavropol. We were likewise surprised by a delegation of journalists upon arrival on the 6th of September 2018 at Moscow's Domodedovo airport. This was another ingenious tit-for-tat retort by the Washington Post, also trying to play upon the whole Russia collusion message, as well as continuing a quite anti-Trump rhetoric. On the 24th of September 2018, we made the front page of the Washington Post. The article was entitled, Russia Hoping to Lure South Africa's White Farmers. The Washington Post referred to me as a former minister. It is true that I spent most of my adult life in public ministry. For this next chapter, I am raising my voice for those like Annette Kennelly, who no longer have a voice. They have been murdered in South Africa.
Немного на русском, чуть-чуть на английском, но в основном на родном африкансе, одном из официальных языков ЮАР. Леон Франсуа Дютуа приветствует российских журналистов в московском аэропорту.
Я очень рад приезду в Россию.
Трудно поверить, но этот джентльмен и рядом его сын – африканцы, или правильнее – африканеры, потомки первых религиозных переселенцев из Европы, протестантов. Предки Дютуа сначала бежали из-за гонений Людовика XIV в Голландию, а потом и в Африку, в район мыса Доброй Надежды, да так там и остались. Были крестьянами или на нидерландском бурами, выращивали пшеницу и овощи, пока с насиженных мест их не прогнали воинствующие колонизаторы-англичане. Бурам британская корона не подошла, их семьям пришлось идти на север, где потом образовались отдельные государства. Их земли сейчас часть современной ЮАР, ну а диаспоры буров расселились по всей ее территории.
В ЮАР 56 миллионов жителей сейчас, где-то 8-9% из них белые. Это примерно около 5 миллионов человек, из них 3 миллиона – это буры. Освоение белыми Юга Африки шло с 1652 года.
Есть мнение, что буры, наравне с англичанами, участвовали в порабощении африканских племен. Йохан Дютуа, сын прибывшего в Россию пастора, с такой трактовкой истории категорически не согласен.
Мои предки приехали как религиозные беженцы. В земле, где не были эти то же самое племена черных из Средней Африки. Они все пришли в то же самое время и потом в северной части Южной Африки. Поэтому это неправильная история. Мы не колонизировали. Это Британская империя, да, они колониалисты были. Но наш народ уже там был 150 лет, когда они приплыли и говорили, вот теперь ваше золото, алмазы, это наш.
The call to action is to sign the TLU South Africa petition. Please have a look at this link and join our action against expropriation without compensation. I will be covering the lengths and breadths of Far East Russia, through East Europe, West Europe to Normandy, France, raising my voice for those who no longer have a voice, speaking publicly, speaking privately, addressing leaders, civil, public, private actors in order to get solidarity established so that we can make a difference in South Africa before it is too late.